Let's talk more about Michael Flynn and his comments when asked whether something like the coup in Myanmar could happen in the U.S. I want to play for you again what former President Trump's one-time national security advisor said at an event in Dallas. This was on Sunday.
I want to know why what happened in Myanmar can't happen here.
No reason. I mean, it should happen here. No reason. That's right.
No reason. I mean, it should happen here. No reason. That's right, he said. Flynn, who is also a retired lieutenant general in the U.S. Army, is now trying to walk back that comment. A message posted to a Parler account used by Flynn yesterday now says, quote, "There is no reason whatsoever for any coup in America." Context here. Flynn made the initial comment at an event made up of QAnon supporters. And for months, QAnon supporters and pro-Trump online forums have been filled with comments supporting the deadly coup in Myanmar and calling for the U.S. military to do the same. It is also important to remember what is actually happening in Myanmar. The military overthrew a democratically elected government, has killed scores of civilian protesters, and it's all but ground the economy there to a halt. Joining us now is Richard Painter. He was the chief White House ethics lawyer under President George W. Bush. He now teaches corporate law at the University of Minnesota and is author of the book American Nero, about the destruction of the rule of law in America. Richard, thanks for being with us. First, your reaction to Flynn's comments and his walkback.
Well, this is a call for a coup. And this is not the first time that Michael Flynn has done this. Back in November, after the election, he met with Donald Trump in the White House, and they talked about having a military takeover where the United States military would enter Pennsylvania and other states to redo the election. That was sedition, and I wrote at the time that that was sedition and should have been criminally charged as sedition by Michael Flynn and also perhaps Donald Trump as an accomplice. Michael Flynn has repeatedly called for a military takeover of this sort. This is sedition. This can be prosecuted as sedition. The pattern of conduct, particularly the overt acts in the White House back in November, is not just one statement here. Second, General Flynn, as a retired from active duty, is subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and he can be court-martialed. He should be court-martialed. And I can assure you that if a former general had said this during the Bush administration, they would have him in Leavenworth, Kansas by now, ready to face court-martial. This is extremely dangerous for a former general to be calling for a military coup. This cannot be accepted in the United States of America.
So is he protected then by his statement that he issued after the fact? You're obviously not buying the walkback, but he did put out that follow-up statement.
He did, because he knows that he's crossed the line into criminal conduct, both under the sedition statute and under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which does apply to him, retired from active service. So the bottom line is that this is part of a continued pattern. This didn't just happen once. So he's got a lot of explaining to do, including what happened in that White House meeting with President Trump and others, where they were planning or discussing the possibility of a military takeover to redo the election. And this should be prosecuted by the Justice Department or by the United States Army. But I want to emphasize that it's critically important that Congress investigate what happened on January 6th, what happened at that meeting in the White House in November with General Flynn. We cannot tolerate insurrection, military coups, sedition in the United States. And General Flynn is part of a much broader problem that absolutely must be investigated. And if the Senate has to break a filibuster in order to do that, they need to go right ahead.
How do you prove sedition?
Prove sedition by showing that there was a plan to undermine the United States government, to overthrow the United States government, and there's some acts taken in furtherance of that plan. I believe that White House meeting was enough, where they were trying to persuade the commander-in-chief to deploy federal soldiers into various states to redo the 2020 election. This goes beyond mere talk to a bunch of QAnon supporters. This is a concerted effort that then revived again in January 6th of this year when President Trump and others encouraged a mob to invade the United States Capitol. This is a broad pattern of conduct over several months since Joe Biden won the election, and it is a pattern of conduct designed to overthrow the United States government. We have to take it seriously. This
let me
type
ask
of thing.
you a quick question about the January 6th insurrection, because obviously Congress voted down, the Senate specifically voted down establishing a bipartisan commission. Congressman Jerry Connolly was on CNN last night calling on the president now to appoint a presidential commission to fully investigate the Capitol attack. Is that the way to go now?
Well, I agree with Congressman Connolly that if Congress will not act, there does need to be a commission, and the commission will be appointed by the president. The preferable course of action is to break the filibuster in the Senate and pass a law by majority vote. That's what's provided for in the Constitution, majority vote, not supermajority, in the House and Senate to pass a statute and establish this bipartisan commission. And that's what they need to do. Americans are tired of the filibuster in the Senate that was used to hold up civil rights in the 1960s, is now being used to support sedition and a cover-up of the insurrection of January 6th. However we do it, there has to be an investigation. We need to get to the bottom of who was involved with January 6th, and also, once again, that meeting in the White House in November where General Flynn and others urged President Trump to stage a military coup and have the military redo the election. This is extremely dangerous, what's going on. We have to take it seriously, or our democracy is going to be in grave risk.
Joining me right now is CNN's Donny O'Sullivan for more on this. Donny, I remember very distinctly that QAnon supporters have suggested this very same thing to you directly. What's going on with Flynn here?
Yeah, Kate, I mean, of all the conspiracy theories we hear on the road when we're speaking to many Trump supporters and QAnon followers, this idea, which, as far back as February, basically since Trump left office, that there should be a military coup here in the United States to put him back into power. And speaking to Trump supporters who are looking at Myanmar and are saying, this is what we want to happen here in the United States, it is one of the most chilling and frightening things we hear when we're out on the road. Flynn is now denying that he was calling for a coup or supported a coup in any way. But as you mentioned, Flynn and Sidney Powell, who was part of Trump's legal election team, this is the world they're swimming in. There has been talk about this for quite some time now, and these comments were made by Flynn at what was essentially a QAnon convention in Dallas over the weekend. And Sidney Powell also spoke there, and I want you to have a listen to what she had to say. She was talking about how Trump should be put back into office.
It should be that he can simply be reinstated, that a new inauguration date is set. And Biden is told to move out of the White House, and and President Trump should be moved back in.
And with the ongoing audit, the Republican-led audit in Arizona, there is a lot of talk in the QAnon world that Powell there is playing into, that Trump in some way could overturn the election still, which of course is false. Kate?
And it's such a sad statement that you have to continuously have to fact check it this many months later, Donny. And this also gets to this new polling that is truly hard to believe. How many people believe in what QAnon spouts? Specifically in this poll, they were asked if they believe and agree with the following. I want to read this for everyone. That the government, media, and financial worlds of the U.S. are controlled by a group of Satan-worshipping pedophiles who run a global child sex trafficking operation. And the numbers are truly disturbing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, 15%, I think we have the numbers, 15% of Americans believe that the levers of power are controlled by Satan-worshipping pedophiles, which is a key tenet of the QAnon conspiracy theory. 15% is millions, tens of millions of people in this country. And I think it's really important to remember that so much of this QAnon, the crazy side of this conspiracy theory, is being enabled by the election conspiracy theory, by the big lie. You know, the whole talk about Myanmar, it's all enabled by the big lie, which is still being pushed by Trump and prominent Republicans. Kate?
Yeah, in this poll, even a bigger proportion of people who call themselves Republicans believe in all of this. Thank you, Donnie. Appreciate it.